The episode begins with a black and white old Spanish movie scene, following a wrestler named Silver Angel who fights a vampire and follows it to its castle. During the tussle, he gets hurt in his leg. In the present, a man also named Angel is watching the movie in a VHS tape in fast-forward mode. Angel has a limp and works as a dishwasher in an Indian restaurant. In the following scene, Ephraim, Nora, and Vasily set free their vampire subject on the streets. They follow him to a psychiatric hospital, where the vampire subject joins a group of sleeping vampires, in the hope that the subject will infect other vampires with his newly injected pathogen after direct contact. Ephraim and his friends decide to come back later. Next morning, Gus arrives at the Indian restaurant where Angel works. However, Angel is not pleased to see Gus there, thinking he is trouble. Meanwhile, back at Vasily's place, Dutch shares with Satrakian that Fitzwilliam has resigned from his position with Palmer and may be staying with his brother at Staten Island. Since Fitzwilliam had let Dutch and Vasily escape even after Palmer's order to kill them, Dutch explains Fitzwilliam could be helpful for them. Satrakian likes her idea, and the two leave for Staten Island. In a flashback of 1966, Satrakian and Eldridge Palmer go to a nunnery in search of oxydolumen. Unfortunately, they arrive to find the nunnery desolate and already taken over by vampires except for one young boy. Upon being asked about the oxydolumen, the boy tells them that their mother superior had burned the book, considering it as evil. Meanwhile, a scream from elsewhere interrupts the boy and he runs towards it. While Satrakian tracks down the noise and searches for the boy, Eichhorst visits Palmer and tells him that he is willing to help Palmer since he's looking for answers in the wrong place. Finally, Satrakian finds the boy, only to return to a disinterested Palmer, who wants to go home immediately. Back in the present, Gus returns to his apartment, where his vampire mother tries to attack him. However, he refuses to kill her, as he loves her enormously. Suddenly, the Master speaks to Gus through his mother saying that he is the future, and the ancients were the past. Furthermore, the Master mocks Gus as cowardly and ignorant. Also, he can sense Gus's mother's disappointment in her son. Hearing this, a furious Gus leaves the place, locking the apartment door. Having nowhere else to go, Gus later goes back to the Indian restaurant, where he gets in an argument with Angel. Since the owner's daughter Anya keeps getting close to Gus, Angel gets mad and yells at him. Soon, Gus realizes that Angel is actually a vintage actor by the name Silver Angel. However, he denies it and asks Gus to leave. Elsewhere, Ephraim, Vasily, and Nora return home to rest before they go back to check their vampire subject after sundown. As suggested by Nora, Ephraim decides to spend some time with his son and takes him out to play baseball at a batting cage. However, Zach is discouraged as he remembers being at the same place and playing with his mother. Later that night, Eldridge Palmer attends a meeting at the Federal Reserve of New York, bringing together the top financial players to resume the stock market trading and restore liquidity to the city's financial institutions in order to prevent banks from running. However, it is revealed that Palmer has arranged a vampire attack led by Bolivar, killing all the major financial players. In the next scene, Satrakian and Dutch are introduced to Fitzwilliam by his brother, who agrees with Satrakian's opinion that Fitzwilliam should work with them. As Satrakian discusses finding the oxydolumen, he offers Fitzwilliam to work together in order to defeat Palmer and the evil he is associated with. Later, when Ephraim, Nora, and Vasily return to the psychiatric hospital, the sleeping vampires are missing. Hence, Vasily gives up on their plan and heads to the subway to blow the main entrance and kill some vampires. Meanwhile, Ephraim and Nora find their test subject dying slowly outside the hospital. In order to give him a less miserable death, they kill him. Surprisingly, they find more dying vampires nearby. When they see some vampires jumping off the building's roof, they realize that the Master is commanding the infected vampires to kill themselves rather than transmit their infection to other vampires with Ephraim and Nora's disease strain. Meanwhile, Vasily blows up the subway entrance and gets arrested by the cops. Elsewhere, Ephraim decides to go to Washington to meet his friend Rob Bardley, who will help Ephraim to deal with the military and use the new disease strain in the mess. However, Nora wants him to slow down since it is risky. Back at the baseball batting cage, Kelly and the Feelers arrive by successfully tracking Zach's scent from a scarf he had dropped there. Unable to find Zach at that place, Kelly becomes furious. In the following scene, police officers evacuate an apartment building while searching for the vampires. Meanwhile, the Feelers, directed by Kelly, attack two police officers. Later, the Feelers crawl back to Kelly, who hugs them humming a lullaby. Elsewhere, a friend of Dutch helps Ephraim to get his name changed as Jonathan Crowley, an epidemiologist of the CDC, and make a new ID in order to go to Washington. Even though Ephraim insists Nora to join him along with Zach, She refuses to go because of the risk and stays back to take care of Zach. Therefore, Ephraim changes his look by shaving his head, so he is less likely to be recognized, and leaves for Washington alone. Meanwhile in Queens, Satrakian goes to Alonso Cream's high-end dealership, searching for the Oxido Lumen, in exchange for some highly valuable artifacts. Although Alonso doesn't have the ancient book, he says he knows someone who might have it, so Satrakian leaves him a generous down payment in return for the service. In the next scene, Nora and Dutch go to the police station to pick up Vasily. Meanwhile, they find a lot of angry people at the station who have been evacuated from their homes and quarantined for 72 hours by order of councilwoman Feraldo. In exchange for Vasily's release, Nora offers the councilwoman to instantly identify all the potentially infected using a UV light instead of a quarantine. Thus, Vasily is released. While Nora checks and identifies the infected, Vasily and Dutch talk to a police officer and describe him more about the vampires. Since Vasily and Dutch know about the silver and UV light's effects on vampires, which the police don't, the officer takes them back to the previous apartment building to clean it. In the following scene, the officer, Vasily, and Dutch get inside the building, exchanging ideas to kill vampires. When the vampires approach, they use their own different skills to kill the vampires. While police blow the heads off the vampires with the bullets, Dutch uses a silver grenade to kill a group of vampires hiding inside the elevator. Meanwhile, Vasily uses his skills to locate a vampire in the walls and stabs it with his silver sword. Elsewhere, Nora identifies Feraldo's nephew as infected and Feraldo struggles to put him down. Since Feraldo is unable to kill her nephew, she asks Nora to do it for her. Now she regrets asking her people to accept their loved one's death. Meanwhile, Ephraim passes the security through a government-only access system and boards a train to Washington. Sadly, Ephraim finds his former superior, Everett Barnes. Though Ephraim tries to hide himself, he eventually gets face to face with Barnes, resulting in a fight. Ephraim knocks down Barnes and tries to jump off the train but finds nothing to land on. Just then Barnes gets back on his feet and fights back again with Ephraim, saying there's nothing Ephraim can do. As the fight continues, Ephraim pushes Barnes off the train, letting him die. Later he gets off the train and is able to successfully get through the security again. Later that night, Satrakian realizes he is being followed on the street and finds the man to be Fitzwilliam, who is willing to help Satrakian. On the other hand, Palmer and Coco go out for a dinner, where a cardinal tells Palmer that the thing he is looking for might be turning up soon. Confused, Coco inquires Palmer, but he doesn't reveal anything. Later, back at the Stoneheart office after dinner, Palmer and Coco share a romantic dance. In a quarantined airport in New Jersey, a plane lands despite the strict rules. On being stopped by the police officers, the pilot says their client was sick and it's an emergency. Meanwhile, the client, a new mysterious vampire, who looks similar to Vaughn, the paratrooper vampire, breaks through the airport's gate and gets in a car, where a lady driver was waiting, and escapes. Later the mysterious vampire arrives in New York with the same lady. Then he goes to the Ancients' headquarters to meet the Ancients. As he talks to the Ancients, we learn that he is a part of an elite group that trained Vaughn and his associates. Since Vaughn and his associates died while taking out Palmer, the new vampire wants to recruit some human soldiers to stop the master. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., Ephraim meets up with his old friend, Rob Bradley, who has significant government and military connections. When Ephraim tells Rob about his new identity and the backstory, along with their newly discovered disease strain for infecting the vampires, Rob is completely on board with the plan. Rob agrees to help Ephraim in his plan to disperse the disease strain en masse with the help of the military. Therefore, Rob sets up Ephraim with one of his contacts at a big pharmaceutical company, a woman named Lee. However, Ephraim introduces himself as Jonathan Crowley to Lee and tells her the plan, which she quickly agrees to. Back at the Indian restaurant, Gus continues to annoy Angel. Finally, Angel admits being an actor whose film career ended when he was permanently injured at the Angel vs. the Vampires movie scene. Meanwhile, Gus also keeps his eye on Rhea, who also seems fond of Gus. However, Angel is very protective of her. When Rhea is asked to make a delivery by her father, Gus offers to help her as it is dangerous outside. Disliking the idea to send Rhea alone with Gus, Angel insists on joining them. Later at the apartment building after delivery, the trio is attacked by two vampires. However, experienced Gus fights with the vampires, killing them, and proves his worth by saving Rhea and Angel's life. In the following scene, after Fitzwilliam joins Satrakian's team, he confirms Palmer's plan to turn into a vampire and become the Master's right hand. Additionally, Fitzwilliam shows the locations of several industrial buildings Eldritch has purchased for the Master. The same night in Washington, Ephraim, Rob, and Lee meet for dinner and discuss the plan to stop the vampires. When Rob leaves the two of them alone, they get quite close and end up in bed together. The next morning, Lee asks Ephraim, disguised as Jonathan, to sign a non-disclosure agreement with the pharmaceutical company, Camerol. Initially, Ephraim is reluctant, however he signs it at the end, when Lee tells him that is how everything works. Later that afternoon, Ephraim and Rob meet with someone from the National Guard, who agrees to utilize the military forces to help New York according to Ephraim's plan. Elsewhere, Palmer meets with Eichhorst at one of his industrial properties. Since Palmer believes that the master is ignoring him, he worries the master won't keep his promise. When Palmer warns Eichhorst, he responds calmly, turning Palmer's threats back at him. In the next scene, Nora and Zach go to the police station to pick some clothes and shoes that are being distributed. Nora talks to Feraldo for a while about Zach, before they are given an escort drive home on Feraldo's order. On their way back home, Kelly and the Feelers stop the car and attack the driver. Luckily, Nora and Zach are able to flee to a nearby church, and Nora calls Satrakian for help. Moreover, Nora and Zach trick Kelly and the Feelers by hiding a piece of Zach's cloth in a cupboard, distracting them with his scent. However, the vampires quickly find them anyway. Just as they are about to attack, Satrakian, Vasily, and Fitzwilliam arrive and save the duo. During the fight, some Feelers are killed while Kelly escapes. Sadly, Fitzwilliam is bitten, so he requests Satrakian to kill him before he turns. Left with no options, Satrakian beheads Fitzwilliam. Back in Washington, Lee's boss confirms that their deal went through, so she and Ephraim search for Rob to celebrate. However, they find Rob dead in his bedroom, with an armed man in the shadows, who also shoots and kills Lee on the spot. He shoots Ephraim on the shoulder, and before he could shoot again, Ephraim shoots the man in the head, killing him. Afterwards, Ephraim picks up the man's phone to find he was sent by the Stoneheart group. At the end, Eichhorst leads Bolivar to the master's coffin to witness his transformation. When the master emerges from the soil, Eichhorst prepares himself to become the master's successor and receive his infinite power. Surprisingly, the master chooses Bolivar as his successor and performs the rituals with his body. Eichhorst cries the tears of betrayal but immediately rushes to the master's old form, whose body is dying. Since Bolivar is the new master now, he commands Eichhorst to kneel and prove his loyalty in every form, to which Eichhorst obliges. Subscribe to see more videos like this, turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel grow. Don't forget to watch part 7. Thanks for watching.